welcome back. This is coming to the conclusion of this part. The sprites, it always end up being more complicated than you would initially imagine, but we're getting some framework in here. Okay, so without further ado, we shall get stuck in. If you remember, we were doing the sprite class. So I've got some core functionality in there. I use that quite a lot. So we have the basics of our sprite, just bare amounts to enable us to draw something. We need some reference to get to our, if you remember when we're drawing, to get to our sprite batch on our game. Now, so I am going to, let's see, just bear with me while I remind myself. We are going to create the wonders. This is a template, and it says singleton. Okay. Now you don't need to know anything else apart from this will load itself up and allow us to get a global access to certain information that we want. And one part of that will be our reference to our main game class, our la la la, this one, no, wrong one, that one. So we want to reference this. And how do we do that? Well, we can store this reference to this class in a global, which will be created via a singleton, and that will enable us to reference it from anywhere within the game without having to continually, because I can foresee us having to pass this reference here, the classic game, in the classic Space Invaders reference, to everything that we want to draw. Now we don't really want to do that because it's such a waste. When you've got hundreds of sprites and each one's got a wasted storage when you can just have it globally somewhere. So what we're going to do, we're just quickly going to do that. So I'm going to go into modules and I'm going to right click and we'll create a folder. So just go new folder and we will call that utilities or utility. Utilities looks better. All right, so we'll put that there, and we were going to add a class. So I right-clicked, add new, and the class. Okay, let it load. I don't know why it's going really slow tonight. All right, thank you very much. Right, so we're going to get rid of class 1, and we're just going to call it global. Okay, so it's created our global. We can get rid of that. And if I just go to Sprite, go to the top, this is what we press the right key, Neil. I don't know what it's doing. It's running it again. That's because I've got a gaming. Gaming. Let's get the right one. And okay, so client to 10. We're just going to copy these 3 lines, and we're going to actually I'll copy all of that into global. All right, so this is going to be, just lost my web page. Sorry, a public sealed. No, just type this. So it's a public sealed class, and we call it global. And within its, let's say, scope, we're within the class itself. So we're in the brackets. We are going to type the following. So we're going to type private static read only, and then we're going to call it global instant. I'm going to do a capital I. Instant equals new global. So this will enable it to effectively on startup create a copy, a working copy of itself. All right then, and then we're just going to just type this as we go along because this is taken from a website and it's a thread safe singleton. It's probably one of the easier ones to actually implement. Okay, so do that and then that. So that is a static constructor, and we then want to make a public. Looks like a public property. So it's public. I'm just type this and I'm going to neaten it up. Everything has to be static for this part of it. So public static global instant. That's what I had to do. Right, bear with me. I'm going to do a little change here, and I'm going to do that, and we're just going to have a get, and that will return. Now I'm going to change the case. Well, actually, I'm going to do m instant. Okay, and then just put a finish it off with a semicolon. I'm going to change that and put m there. Lovely. So that is technically our singleton, which will create all our stuff that we need. So lovely. And in here, we're going to do public this, and we're going to go. I'm just going to go core game, and just going to go. So I think just for ease, I'm going to do a little bit like shorthand as I would, just to show you. Okay. All right. So we got here. So I'm going to in here. I'm going to do a region, and I'm going to put singleton. Okay, and we're going to end that there. End region. Lovely. And in here, I'm going to put region, and you have a guess. I'm going to put properties. Properties, because it's a property, enables you to get and set an internal reference to it. And I'm going to end region here. Okay, so what have we done? Okay, so we've created a sealed public class called global, and because it's a singleton, we want it on initialization to create a copy of itself that we can reference. Now we reference that by doing global dot instant, and that is our global, and then we can do like core game and things like that. Lovely. So I think it's easier for me to just trust me. We just build, make sure it all builds. Lovely. And we will then use it. Okay, so I'm going to first of all add it into Classic Space Invaders, and we're going to do it at the beginning here because we have just what we need. So here I'm going to put global. Actually, I think we need to start including a use the namespace for this. I'm going to do using classic space invaders module utilities. Lovely. So in there we have global dot instant dot core game equals this. Now this is a reference for this, as in this class. It's a standard C++ C# thing. When you put this, it means use this class. So yeah, so this will set up. I shouldn't have used. So we're now going to set up core game, which is in our global singleton. This, which is a reference to Classic Space Invaders, you can see it's highlighted it there. So if I go onto this, it's saying what it is. It's saying it's a reference to, because it's marking it up here, Classic Space Invaders, okay, which is our core game. All right, so that's fairly easy. I'm also going to tidy this up a little bit because we're going to, I'll come back and tidy this up. But what I'm going to do here is do a property. So it's a public, and we want to export our sprite batch. Not export, yeah, expose our sprite batch. And I'm going to call this sprite batch, but not using capitals. So I'm just going to call it, actually I'm going to call it sprite batch, like that. Lovely. And with this one, I will just do, just a get really for this, because you can have a get or a set, so effectively making it read only. And I'm going to return underscore sprite batch. Okay, oh sorry, get and then do that, and that. Sorry. So yeah, because it's a property, we need to get, and what that get is, every time I reference global core game batch, it will return underscore sprite batch. Lovely. Trust me, and we'll do this, and we'll comment this. I'm just going to start commenting this actually. So I'm just going to put a region at the top here, and then I think on the next video we're going to do file headers and function a bit more commenting. But I thought if we write some code first, then we can comment it late as we're progressing. So I'm just going to private variables, anything like that would be fine, or members, into region. Lovely. I'm going to call it private data. Lovely. Bit more simple. And in this one, I'm going to do region, and this is going to be constructors, because it's got no type and it's the same name as our class. Alright, in region, lovely. And in here we're going to do region, wait for it, properties, and in region, lovely. Here we're going to do region public functionality, which you can spell properly, and it all looks lovely. So all of that can go in that region. Oh, end region, sorry. Lovely. And that I think that will allow us to like close, say this. Lovely. It just makes it easier to start editing stuff. So we know we've got private data in there. We have our constructors, our properties. So we can close that. So we've got properties. So basically, this is a lot easier to understand. And remember, we can do Control M, keeping the control down, L, and that'll open everything that's collapsed. And when we collapse, I mean when you collapse a section like this or that, or even this, it will open it all. Lovely. So you do Control M, release the M, but keep the control down and press L. So it's Control M L. All right, so that's looking good. All right, so we've created our global. Now in Sprite, we can reference that. And to show you, because we're going to start doing the draw. So in here, we're going to do, actually, we're going to make a reference to it. So I'm going to do using, well, accessing the namespace. So it's Classic Space Invaders, modules, utilities. Lovely. So we've added that in. So we are using a reference. So we can now do global dot instant dot core game dot and then look down for spread batch. And if I open that, all our functionality there, it's brilliant. So we can then do draw. And we need a texture. That's our next thing. So I'm just going to put that there. We'll be working on that. So it's our framework. So what we need for now, because this will change, we're going to need a reference to the texture. And we won't store it in here. We'll store that as global. And we also need a reference or a rectangle, which we will store. Oh, we've got it all here, source rect. Brilliant. Perfect. So I will yes, for now. All right, so in here we will add another public. So we're going to do public, then we're going to call it texture 2D, and we're going to call this invader sprites. Okay. So I do invader sprite texture. Because it's a texture. Okay, so I'm just going to do a get and a set. So this is going to make a public property, but allow us, because it's a shortcut, allow us to access a private member that it will create on the fly. We don't have to create that. All right. So that's lovely. So we have this. I'm just going to usual stuff, make that nice and neat. I'm even going to be silly and do that for now. Okay, just so we can look at it as we go down. So these are our types, that's our name, and this is the gets and set. So we know it's a read and writable property. Alright, so in our game, Classic Game Invaders, we have our property, our texture, invader texture here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sneaky and do global instant, and then we've got invader sprite texture equals invader sprite sheet. Lovely. I'm going to show a nice way of changing multiple lines at certain points. So you can highlight where you want to be. So I move my cursor here, where because what I want to do is move these level with this one. So sort of indent them in. So I've got it on the top one. I'm going to press the Alt key, and with the mouse, I'm going to highlight the whole area. And then I'm just going to press Tab. And you see it's moving the whole lot. Lovely. So that makes that look nice and neat. Just so you can read it. Alright, so that's looking good. So we've stored that there. So actually, we're looking quite good for doing our draw. Okay, so in here, we know our texture is going to be global.instant.invader sprite texture. We have our, now we're drawing number 6 or 7, aren't we? I think it's 6. So we want a vector for position, source rect. Lovely. So our vector for position, we do have position. There's lovely. You can see it's all starting to make a source rect. Got source rect there. Ooh. Got color. Now I think it's sprite color. Lovely. We've got rotation. We've got that one there. We have origin, which is that one. It's actually almost highlighting, it's hinting what we've got. We've got scale, we've got effect, sprite effect. No, it's called enum sprite effects. No, so what did I call it? Let's just have a quick look. It should be effect. I'm sure I called it effect. I don't know why it didn't come up. There, lovely. And then finally we got layer depth, which I think is sprite depth. Oh, it's good. That's it. Some slight problems. Cannot. Okay. So for some reason this is not accepting. So we've got our origin. Okay, back again. I can't work it out. There's something really weird going on there. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a new vector. Vector 2. We'll force this to be a vector, and we will do pass scale on both the x and y. Okay, so that then is effects, which should, that's a sprite. Okay, sprite effects. Okay. Oh, all right. So I think I picked the wrong one here. So sprite effects. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to quickly edit this and apologize for that. So I will then make this one sprite effects, and this might sort out the other one. So let's just try this and scale. Yeah, I apologize. It was the effect that was wrong. That's why it's throwing it out and picking the last ones. Oh, I'm such a fool, ladies and gentlemen. All right, all that big drama. We now have our draw, which is great. So let's just. So we're going to do this, manhandle this for now because we haven't got a. I'm going to skip the sprite manager until next time. I'm just going to get a sprite on the screen. So we're going to be hard coding it a little just for testing. Alright, so I'm going to come into here, and up here we're going to do a new private, and I'm going to call it sprite. I'm going to have to include it here using classic Space Invaders module sprites, and then we can then type sprite, and we're going to call this one invader sprite. Lovely. Alright, so that's that. So when we are we're going to do it in load here. So once it's loaded, I'm going to set it up here. Now it's going to be a little bit drawn out. We're going to extend upon the sprite class later on, so we can make this a bit easier to implement. So I'm just going to do invader sprite. We have to set all of these. So I'm going to do position, and we're going to have that as for now somewhere we can see it. Let's do it 300 250. Oh, so right, so it's new vector 2 250. Okay, lovely. So it's that one. And then we can do invader sprite. I'm going to do source rect, and that is new. And now I know our source rect on one of these is this one. So this is what we're going to copy. Lovely. So it saves us having to type that. And I'm just going to put that there. Lovely. So I've done source rect equals a new rect at the right position. Okay, and then we're going to have invader. I'm just moving along a little bit quicker here because I'm concerned about the amount of time I'm taking. Invader sprite, and we'll go everything. So origin, we're going to make that vector 2, 0. Lovely, if you remember rightly, so effectively we'll zero that. And we're going to do invader sprite scale equals, now we're going to do that as 3.0f. Lovely. Make it a little bit bigger. I think we're going to have to make them bigger than they currently are. And sprite rotation, rotation equals 0.0f. I could type, and we've got invader sprite. Sprite color. So we're going to have this one as light blue. So I'll do color, light blue. Lovely. And we'll do invader sprite, sprite depth, and that will be 0. Okay, and invader sprite. Not particularly order, just to make sure we actually do it. Also got origin, position, sort step sprites, depth, update. So we've got a few more up here. We've got effect equals, and it should come up with sprite effects, and I'm going to go none. Lovely. Invader sprite. What have we got up here? So we've got effects, origin. Looks like we've done it all. Brilliant. So that is quite initialized. Lovely. So we've got that. Now what I'm going to do is in here. So here we're going to draw sprites. This is test in draw sprites. Now I'm going to do invader sprite draw. That's all we need to do. Do we need? Oh, game type. We need to pass that in. Lovely. And that's it. That should draw a sprite. Okay. Right, let's give this a go. No. So I think I should I should have actually done this. Invader sprite equals new sprite. Lovely. And that will allow us to actually have, because I hadn't actually created an object. So we need to do new sprite. I don't know why. Have I put the wrong thing there? Yeah, lovely. I put a colon there by accident. Alright, so we will try that again. Sorry. Lovely. And there it is. That one there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just to make sure, I'm going to change it to blue. And then F5 it. Oh yeah, that's our sprite. Oh, lovely. So we have a sprite drawing on the screen. I'm going to make it light blue again. And now, what we want to do, we just want to get it moving. This is part of our objectives. So we're going to have to add a little bit of code. So in our sprite, I am going to add some code here. Now what I'm going to do is effectively every time this is called, I'm going to move the sprite left or right, depending on where it's going. So we're going to need a travel indicator. So I'm just going to move it left till it gets to a certain point on the screen, then move it right till it's getting to a certain point on the screen, then move it back left. Okay, so I am going to effectively add some more members here, and on the next one I'm going to take this out, but for now we're just going to put it in so we can get it moving properly. So I'm going to create bool. Well, actually I'm going to do a float, and I'm going to call this one fspeed. Lovely. And we're going to create a new property for it, which I'll just do at the end here. So it'll be a public float speed, and that is to get, open the brackets, and return speed. Alright, so I did that capitals, didn't I? Sorry. Oh no, it's f speed. I wonder why it wasn't coming up. F speed. There, lovely. Okay, and then I'll set. So we want to just make that, if you remember, equals value, because it's the value that's being passed in. We have it in sprite depth. I did discuss this, I'm sure. Okay, so that's our speed. So in here, I'm going to do a speed of invaders, right? Speed equals minus 1.0 f. Alright, so that's our -1, so it effectively will move left. It's decrementing the x value by that. Alright, so this is at the start. So we have that, and we will go into our sprite, and in update, we will then do, okay, so I'm going to put our position. I wonder if, I don't sure if we can write to a position. So I'm going to do, we will find out position x plus equals, and I'll do this as f speed. Lovely. Now if position x is less than, we're going to do this at 10.0. I'm going to f speed equals 1.0 f. Okay, this is just test code. So if the position x is then greater than 500, we're going to make f speed minus 1f. Should start making a little bit of sense. And that's all we need to do, I think. Let's just run this. Oh no, we'll call it first. 1 step forward, 8 steps back. Alright, so it has to be an update because this is our game logic. So I'm going to do invader sprite update, and we're going to pass in game time. Okay, and then do F5. Alright, and there it is moving across the screen. It should get to the end. Oh, looking good. And will it get to the other end? Oh yeah, not quite to the end, but it has got to 500. Lovely. Okay. I think we've actually got a sprite moving on the screen. I will now introduce you to, let's see, how long have we been recording? Should I do it? I think while this is still fresh in our mind, let me just check. I think I'm just going to refactor this now and show you what's commonly referred to in the sprite world, and we are seeing it, inheritance, and it also enables us to use another phrase, polymorphism, which is, I'll explain it when we go along, but we've got inheritance and polymorphism within classes. These are words that you can impress your friends with, and if they say, but what does that mean? Like they'll ask me, Neil, what does it mean? I'll go, it's far too complicated to go into. Or you could say, I could tell you, but I would have to kill you. No, you don't say that. All right, so that's looking good. We looked at that enough. So this is our problem, and you should already be thinking, Neil, what are you doing? I have an invader sprite, and I have sprite, and I have changed sprite. So we have speed been added to it, which is probably okay. And also in update, I've fixed it, and up and draw, I've fixed it here. In truth, what's going to happen when we want another sprite? If we want, say, the mothership or a bullet, how are we going to do the update when it's already doing something for another type of sprite on the screen, an invader? So what we need to do is we need to create an invader sprite and inherit sprite from it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go into modules, and I'm going to open up and add a new folder, and we're going to call this what should we refer to it as? I'm going to refer to it as I don't want to call it enemies. I don't call it because it's effectively sprites, but I want to store it as like. So I'm going to call it game sprites. Okay, just for want of something to call it. And in here, I'm going to add a new class, which is come a little bit quicker. Highlight and remove class 1, and we're going to call this one invader sprite. Okay, and then hit enter. We're now going to pick a sprite. There we go, sprite. Go to the top, and we're just going to highlight all of this. Go to invader sprite, remove these, and replace them with that one. Great. So we've now got a invader sprite. So we're going to make this one public so we can access it. And then we're going to inherit sprite. So just going to do a colon and then do sprite. Okay. We need to use the using. Actually, if we click on this, it's going to do quick actions and refactoring, and that's what we need to add. Lovely. So it's added it for us. There. Brilliant. So this is our sprite as invader sprite. So I'm going to just do a region, and I'm going to do public functionality and end region. Lovely. And in here I'm going to do public override. Ooh. Right. All right, sorry about that. It's thinking because we need to refactor as we're going along. So you have to follow this. I'll go slowly. we need to go, because what we need to do, we need to make our functions in our game interface abstract functions, which is technically a little bit, shouldn't really be an interface, should be an abstract class, but I'm just going to use it as abstract functions with our interface. We then, in our sprite, we then use them as virtual functions, which are generated from our abstract functions. And then in our invader sprite, we do an override on the functions that we want to use. All right, follow my lead, and this will start to make a little bit of sense. So we want to change these to abstract. Now, ever so simple, abstract. There, abstract. And I'm going to do that on all of them here. Just a quick refactoring. Okay, so that's that done. Save that. I need to go to Sprite. And where we got these functions, we need to do virtual. So I'm going to do public virtual. And then go down. That's for our initialize, for our load content, our update, and also our draw. Lovely. So that's that bit done. So now go back to our invader sprite, because I want to override the draw. It's saying hides inherited draw class to make member override the invitation. Use the keyword override. Okay, so it's already saying we need to use an override here. So I'm just going to do override. Lovely, and that should must precede the member type. Sorry, in here. Override. Lovely. So public override and then the function, which is void draw. Lovely. So I'm just going to override both of them. As in, when I say both of them, it's our update. Lovely. It's our update and our draw. Brilliant. And in here, I am going to get our sprite once, and I'm going to leave speed in because I like that. That's quite an interesting one. So I'm going to also move this, take that out of the update for the sprite, just save the file, go to invader sprite, and I'm going to add that in here. Okay, and just to prove that things are working, I'm going to go back to sprite. I'm going to copy the draw function, copy the whole lot, go into our new draw, and I'm going to change something so that we know it's different. So I am going to effectively take this out for now, and I'm going to use sprite effects, and I'm going to flip it vertically. Lovely, so it's different. Okay, so why can't we, alright, so we need to make this position, and I have a funny feeling it might complain with reference changing stuff. So make that position, this will be speed, this will be speed, and that is speed. Yes. So we can't modify because it's a property. So what we need to do, we need to do a vector2, and we call this pos equals position, and then we do pos x plus that, and then we want to do down here. This is the disadvantage using properties because it really protects stuff. You can't access a member like an x or a y within our vector2. So you have to create a local copy, do the change, and then change that vector2 with the new one. So I now want to do position equals pos. Lovely, and that's that done. Just pause the video, copy this code in, and it will work. All right, lovely. So we have done such a lot. So we have effectively modified or refactored our game interface. So we made them abstract functions. This is so that we can inherit functionality, but change functionality. So I'm not gonna, yeah, it's it allows you to override functions and change them for the different sprites, which makes such a big difference when you have loads of sprites. So this is where polymorphism comes into it, because when we draw them, we just use sprite.draw, and it will do the invaders draw, which is different to the sprite draw, which is fascinating. But the more sprites we put on there, the more this is all start to make sense, and then you'll realize that it's a massive learning curve. So if you are following this, oh, hats off and well done. There's a lot to learn. Let me just save that. All right, so we are going to test this. So we're going to go in here and we're going to create another sprite. So we're going to call this one, so I'm going to include, so it's using classic game invaders, oh, can't type right, create modules, game sprites, lovely. And in here, this is invader sprite, and I'm going to start another one, and I'm just going to call this one sprite, and I'm going to call this one just sprite, just the sprite. Beat that one for a name. Okay, so in here we need to change this because we're not going to create a new sprite. We're going to create a new invader sprite. Lovely. And what we're going to do, we're going to block copy all of this code, and we are going to replace this. Now remember that if you press the Alt key and highlight where you want to start, so we'll start at the top on the N, just highlight it, and I'll go down and I will highlight invader. Now I'm going to type just the sprite, and it's changed it all. Lovely. That's that easy. It's lovely. It just saves you no enter time. We need to just change this to sprite, and we have the same ones again. So I'm going to start it at a higher place, 220, and we are going to make this one light green. No, light pink. Woohoo. All right, lovely. So we have two sprites now. We have invader sprite and just the sprite. Okay, just the sprite is a new sprite, and invader sprite is an invader sprite. Lovely. So in here, we're now going to do just the sprite draw. And we're passing game time, and terminate that with a semicolon. Now at the top here, we are going to do just sprite, just the sprite, update. So there are our two sprites. Lovely. So I'm just going to put a comment in there so we know what we're doing. So it's sprite update. Makes sense, doesn't it? Sprites update. Okay, and we've got draw sprites below. Lovely. So yeah, so I'm effectively calling the update for both the sprite and invader sprite, and the draw for the sprite and invader sprite. Lovely. Let's try this. Oh, look at this. This is work. All right. So R, just the sprite, has got no update functionality, so it's staying there and it's pink. Now our draw on our invader one has flipped the sprite vertically, okay, because we hard coded that, and in our update, it's actually moving the sprite. Perfect. So this is how to use classes. So we've got two sprites. One is stationary. Well, actually, I could do. I was going to do add another sprite and have it moving horizontally. But yeah, lovely. So this is making sense, isn't it? I hope so. I will put this somewhere, and I'll think about where to put it. I might do it on my Google Drive and then share it. I'll see if I can share this in the description. If not, I'll find some way of sharing this. So I'll copy all the source. So, basically the project. I'll put the project in a zip and I will share it for you. So you can at least see this code if you're having problems trying to follow. So, okay. Oh dear, well, lots going on. I hope this is followed because it's just pure test code. Will we then moving this into a slightly better way of implementing it? I think we've really progressed. We've got the essence of a game. We've got control of moving of our sprites and governed by some hard-coded values. This is also assuming a fixed width screen. Which we will sort out at a later date, but that's a minor detail. Yeah, so what this has done is test code, and it's proved our sprite and invader sprite, and the invader sprite inheriting the sprite, because we've used position from our sprite in our invader sprite. I'm just going to go over some things here, like here. So this is from sprite. And then this is invader sprite. This is a temporary variable which I've changed and then stored it back into sprite. All of this is coming from sprite, which we've already prior set up in our when we set it up at initialize, and we've actually fixed this here as flip vertically for now. Lovely. All right, I think that's more than enough for this, and a funny feeling that we have. Let's see, have I still got it open? The text, what to do. So we've got our game interface, our sprite object. I haven't done the sprite manager. We will do that in a separate part of the video. But we've created more than that. We created a sprite and our invader sprite, and we're moving the invader around the screen. And I've showed you how to extend your game interface to abstract functionality, which you then make virtual in your sprite, because it's the first part of inheritance. And then from your sprite, you can override them in your classes that will inherit sprite. Yes, it's like, all right, so I will write it here. So we have our invader sprite, which is inherited from sprite, and that is inherited from game interface. Okay, so that's what it is. So there's a single flow going across. Sprite has inherited the interface, game interface, and invader sprite has inherited sprite, which also inherited the game interface. It's clever how it does it. If you do another one, like invader sprite, you can inherit functionality from invader sprite. Very, very cool. And then you can override certain other functionalities. So you can it becomes a wonderful, wonderful nightmare to code. Lovely. Okay, that's enough of my waffle. I will terminate this and upload it ASAP. So this is the end of this massive large part, but we have done so much. And please forgive the slight speed up in my implementation because I want to get this done and we can move on. Hopefully there's enough pause there so you can see what I've typed in. From this moment on, I will try and code some chunks and then let you code some chunks. But it's a little bit awkward at the moment because this is new territory for all of us. When we get into a more familiar um, environment of the game logic and things like that, it becomes a lot more, well, a little bit of interaction from you in a non-virtual way in the safety of your own home. You can pause the video, type away at some code, and then see if that's very similar to mine or if your code works. Lovely. So I haven't forgotten that. This is just core stuff that needs to be done so we can progress with the game. Okay. If you're happy, raise your hands. All of you, great. Please subscribe. Please hit the like, and more importantly, please comment. I'd love to know your reactions to this, how you feel about it. Am I going too fast? What areas have I confused you on? Because I got confused myself. Yeah, it's very interesting. Feedback would be wonderful. All right, then, catch you on the next one.